You're listening to Free Mama Radio, where we believe you can have both a successful business and show up as the mom you want to be. I'm your host, Lauren Golden, a mom who built a full-time income working part-time hours. Now, I help other moms like you learn how to work from home on your own terms, take control of your schedule, and make more money so you can live a totally awesome, guilt-free life. I am on a mission to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So if you've been wondering, can I really have it all? This podcast will give you the answers.
One of the best things about being a business owner is when you can start to see your students getting results. And today on Free Mama Radio, I get to interview one of my friends, my coaching students, a former member of Team Mama, an all-around amazing human being, a six-figure award winner inside of the Free Mama movement, and an outstanding bookkeeper, and just so many other things. Her name is Meagan Hernandez. She is a tax accountant, financial educator, and has been a Free Mama for over 3 years now. She is a mama to two and a wife to her Zumba-loving Colombian sweetheart. Did I do any justice there? Colombian. Okay. In Meagan's business, she enjoys working with kind-hearted, impact-driven women, either helping them with their own bookkeeping and tax needs or coaching them on how to start their own successful bookkeeping business. Today's Free Mama success story is going to be action-packed with things to help you get your business started, as well as hopefully provide tons of inspiration that if this is possible for Meagan, you can do it too. Tune in. I'm very excited because if you guys don't know Meagan, she is awesome. She's been around the Free Mama community for a while, and she has built a multi-six-figure agency after starting as a freelancer, not really knowing what this Free Mama world was about, just like many of you, taking that chance on herself, on the program, and now she has built a bookkeeping empire, and it's just so exciting. So Meagan, welcome. I'm so excited to have you as kind of my first guest since reviving what I want Free Mama Radio to look like. So thank you for being my guinea pig.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
So let's go back a little bit. A lot of people in the Free Mama community do know who you are. You used to be on my team, and because of crazy circumstances with like disappearing accountants who like leave and hiring a new accountant, you are now out on your own serving other amazing entrepreneurs. But because of that, we have a really intimate relationship, right? Like we're friends, we have a coaching student capacity. I just admire the heck out of you as a human. You used to work with me. Like we wear many different hats, and I just have so much respect for you and for what you've built. But for people who don't know you, let's take things back. Let's go to maybe like the few years leading up to you coming into the Free Mama movement. So maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, what were you doing and what was life like? Like where were you at?
Yeah. So I do have a background in accounting prior to having the bookkeeping business. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I was in corporate, working, trying to work my way up in male-dominated, workplaces, industries, trying to prove myself, trying to always, impress my bosses, having to, ask for time off, things like that. I didn't really have a whole lot of big goals for myself because I didn't really know that there were places for me to go. Like if you're working in a typical 9-to-5 job, that there's a chance for a promotion in a couple of years after you work your way up, but you're really kind of capped on what you can do. So I didn't really have a lot of hope that would happen for me. So I knew I wanted to start a family. I didn't have any kids yet at that time, but I knew that I didn't know how that was going to work because I knew I had to have a job to help support me and my husband and our finances. So I didn't really have a plan yet on what I was going to do for when we started having kids.
So what I love is that just to connect the dots for other people too, like you actually have created this business out of something that you were already doing at work. And when I first started my freelancing business, I was maybe not quite as confident in my skill set as you. But again, I went back and I looked at what are things that I'm already doing in my job? What are things I'm already interested in? And technically my job was like alum director. I worked at a school, for goodness sakes. Like I was, on admin and part of kind of the development office. But however, a part of that job was helping get donations for the school. And I'm like, well, none of the young alums, like they don't live with their parents anymore. And they've changed addresses 4 times in college. So like, where do we go find these people? Well, they're all on Facebook, like they're all on the internet. And so I kind of started learning social media, and that's where I started my freelancing journey. So I think that our career and our past can leave clues about what we want to do. So what appealed to you about the free mama movement? Like what was going on at that time that made you like, yeah, I'm going to do this?
So I actually have never quite connected this before, but the last job I had right before I found this community and your course and everything, it was actually a step down from what I had been doing right before that. It was just so stressful and so, like I said, like male dominated in the human resources and like all of the bigger positions in that job. And it was so stressful and so anxiety producing that I actually took a job a step down to have a more calm environment. And I actually got pregnant while I was at that job. So that worked out pretty well because it was a calmer environment and things were going a little bit better. But once I got pregnant, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to want to come back here, after I had my son. So, I was pregnant while I was working there, and then I was on maternity leave. And once I had my son, I was like, yep, no, I'm not going to want to go back. But there were not really any options. And again, like I said, I had to work to support our household finances. So it was kind of in a bind, like a lot of people feel like I didn't know what I was going to do. And just maternity leave had ended. I did go back to work and I was kind of fretting. I was like, I think I'm maybe going to even have to quit and just start completely from the ground floor, like quit and use my savings for a couple of months to help pay for our finances. And then, maybe in a couple of months, I'll feel a little bit better about leaving my son with someone else. And I'll just start at any job I can get. Like, I thought that was really my only option. And then magically, that's when your ad popped up and I saw this possibility of freelancing and having my own business.
So I want you to go in more detail. And I have the luxury, Meagan, or maybe this is to your detriment. We'll find out. But I have the luxury of knowing a lot about you. I know a lot of your background and I know kind of that like deeper stuff. And if you're willing to go there, like, what were some of the things that were running through your mind? Not like, oh, this might be hard, but like, what was really going on and what made you say yes to pursuing this? Like, what did that look like for you? Because that is one of the hardest parts of this whole self-employment, bridge to entrepreneurship, like just personal development, really wanting to like be in control of what your life looks like and taking the reins of your happiness. Like that's like that like first step, like that's some hard stuff right there that we've got to navigate in our minds. So what was going through your head and what made you say yes?
Well, and unfortunately, I think this is how it happens for a lot of people. It's like you're pushed to the end of the rope, or like, to your bottom of the barrel. There's really nothing else, no other choices. And for me, when I had my son, I wanted to have a baby since I was 16. I was one of those girls that's like, I'm going to grow up to be a mom. I didn't really have like this thing I wanted to do career-wise. I was like, I wanted to be a mom. And then all through my 20s, because of different life stuff that happened, I didn't have an opportunity to have children. So when I was around 32-ish, when I got pregnant with my son, it's like I had finally reached this big milestone. So it's, obviously having children is a big deal, but it was like, for me, it was this huge milestone that I'd reached. And I was like, I don't want to just like have a child and go put them somewhere, and not against people that have to do that. But for me, it felt like I don't want somebody else to raise him. I don't want him to call somebody else mommy. I don't want him to, feel like somebody else is taking care of him. And I was so desperate. And I think that it was that exact right time in my life that I was like, I've got to give this a try. I knew that I was smart enough to figure things out. I knew that I had, that I had proved that to myself in different jobs that I had. And I was just like, I had to do it. I had to do something in order to stay with him. And, it was hard. Not that I was like, we weren't starving or anything. We were doing okay financially. But like I said, I had this little chunk of savings and it was going to last me for about 3 months. But investing in the course, that brought it down to 2 months. So in my mind, if it didn't work, that was like, I was going to have to go back and get a job even sooner. So it wasn't easy to part with the money. And it truly was an investment. And I felt like this is an investment in trusting myself to get out there and build this business. And there's just something about you that I was like, she can get me there. I think she can get me there. So I dove all in.
And us, I hate to say us internet marketers, like I'm an internet marketer, I think I do like marketing, obviously. I love to geek out on that. But anyway, there's a saying, people who pay attention. Do you think that, you talked a lot about like, okay, my savings went from 3 months to 2 months. Like, do you think that motivated you to do something that maybe you wouldn't have done without that motivation?
Yeah. And I don't really know why it works that way. I'm sure nobody really knows. But thinking back, if it had just been like a free program or something, I don't know that I would have taken it as seriously. I don't know that I would have said, okay, this probably works. Because like, then why is it free? Like everybody's just going to jump on it. So that told me that there was a lot of stuff behind it and that it was, I don't know, it just, that investment just made me feel like this is the route I'm going to go. No. I'm going to go all in with it.
And so then you made 6 figures and that was it. And it's been really easy, right?
Yeah, just like magic.
So talk to me about, I know it's been 3 years. Let's maybe like unpack this because I could talk to you for hours and I probably will later on Voxer, but like if you had to think about like, what were the biggest challenges that you experience like in 3 years? Like if we were to break this down of like, what was your biggest challenge that first year? Or what was your biggest challenge? What was the biggest thing you learned? What was the biggest aha that made it click? And then let's think about year 2, where was Meagan in year 2? And then like, what's maybe your biggest challenge right now in your business? Like, because I always say, right, there's no struggle-free life. I think people think like, well, I'm going to get it and then life's going to be easy. And I think that leads to this constant disappointment. It's not that it's easy, but certain things can definitely become easier, right? Like okay, I'll let you run with that.
Yeah, no, and it's like looking back, it's definitely certain milestones that I've seen where I hit and I reach growth. The first thing for me was just, when I first started the business, I was getting some clients. I wasn't completely confident that bookkeeping was going to be what did it for me. So I was like, I don't know who's going to hire a bookkeeper online. So I was just kind of dabbling in a few things, social media, administrative. I was, charging lower than I really wanted to, but I was, I wanted to get clients and even charging lower, I was able to replace my previous salary right away. Like it is almost like magic how that works. Like I was able to replace that salary, working fewer hours, staying home with my son. All that was great. But I wasn't truly charging what I thought I was worth. I was providing a lot of value. And I lost a client, a big client, at the end of 2018. And he said some harsh things to me and said that I wasn't worth more, paying more for. And I could have sat back and said, that's true. That's right. That's what other people have told me in the workforce. But instead, I'm a mom now and I'm like empowered and I have a business. I said, that's not true. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to do. And I want to do bookkeeping. I don't want to do that other stuff anymore. What I really want to do is bookkeeping. I'm going to dive all in. So at the beginning of 2019, that's what I did. And that's when I started to see the growth. When I got really narrowed in what I wanted to do. So 2019, I started to grow. That's when I hired my first team member. And virtual assistant, I hired a virtual administrative consultant, actually another free mama. And we worked together and she helped me grow through 2019, hired a couple of other team members. And then it started to become like, this management thing that I'm worrying about, or like when I'm growing my client base and I have more team members, it opens up different things you have to focus on, different things you have to spend your time on, and making sure that you have the right clients. And then you start to realize what are some important traits to you? Like, what are some important things you want to look for in clients? And that's something really important that you want to make sure, I would say, if I'm, giving some advice here, is what are some of the personality traits? What are some of the qualities that are important to you and people you want to work with? Because I worked with some not very nice people in my journey to like grab everybody. And it helped me narrow down to, the things that are most important to me in the type of people they are. And after I sort of went down that route and narrowed that down and just listening to what other people are saying that they need, like potential clients, what are they asking for? What do they need? And that's actually how my course came about as well, because there was a need for that education piece and people learning to do their own bookkeeping, people wanting to become bookkeepers. So keep going down that path, keep growing.
There's so much wisdom in there. Like, I know we kind of glazed over that, and it kind of answers the question that I just wrote down while you were speaking. Like, and you do this very well, Meagan. Like, we have to learn to, like, I said, all businesses solve a problem, not your problems, by the way, the people who are paying you to solve their problems. And if it solves your problems too, like wanting to quit your job, that's just gravy, right? But you kind of glossed over that whole, 2018, we hit rock bottom at the end with like that bad client kind of thing. But then we took off because it almost became fuel for you of like, I'm going to prove this person wrong because I am worth this. What is your advice? Because I remember coaching you through all of that. I remember every single one of those conversations. And my question to you is, what advice do you have to people who are struggling to find leads? Because not only is your like solo book of business full to the point that now you have a team, but you continue to have people seeking out your agency, that now you have a team of bookkeepers that works with you. Why do you think that you've been able to do that? What are some things, to your own horn, Meagan, what are some things you've done well that you think has led to that other people can learn from?
I'd say the biggest thing for me is really listening to what business owners are asking for, really listening by way of watching in Facebook groups and things like that. What are they asking for? What are the words they're using? What are their actual pain points? And then like translating what you know how to do to solve it into their language. So like learning to speak their language. So when you talk to them, you touch on all of those things, and like, because they forget that they've used those words. They forget that they are their words. They think that you're coming in and reading their minds and that you're going to solve the problem. So I think that right away I was able to get good at translating and speaking their language. And I started listening to what they're asking for and then developing my services based on what they needed. And as that continued to grow and I started to develop specific services to solve their problems and to help them grow, that's when I started to notice like, okay, things work out a lot better for me when I actually like the person. It's a better working relationship if I like their personality, if I, not that we have to have the same exact beliefs, but at least like ethically, if we have similar things that we believe in or similar traits, then it just works really well. So you get the client by speaking their language and solving their problem. You keep the client by having this like connection on a deeper level, and you respect each other. And it's not just about you doing work for them and that's it. Like you have to have a little bit of a personal connection too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people miss this step when they think about, who's your target audience or who's your ideal client. Like, is it just, someone in health and wellness? Can they be a jerk? Like, is that cool with you? Like, can they not respect boundaries? Like, what does that look like? So I love that. That is such good advice. Okay. So we touched on your course. I want to come back to that in a second. But before, I think you are so knowledgeable about what you do. And you didn't mention this, but you did earlier, is I think something else that really set you apart at that time was you got really crystal clear on who you are and what you offer, right? And so what was cool, and this is obviously something I teach, is like it helped you become known for something. And so when you were out online in the world, the virtual world, people can refer you, people can tag you, people can whatever, and you became really synonymous with this thing. So a lot of people watching or listening probably know that you are the bookkeeper. So something that was a really big hang up for me was this idea of taxes and bookkeeping, accounting, like not being so fearful of starting a business. Because yeah, I understand social media. I have imposter syndrome. I don't know that I got all this mindset stuff I'm working through, but like, I really don't understand the legal side of starting a business. And I really don't understand taxes. And I don't necessarily want to learn it. So I've asked Meagan to pour into you guys a little bit because we're big on giving you guys that knowledge and those action tips so that you can be successful. What are 3 things that we can teach right now to the free mamas, especially the newbie free mamas? Maybe they're still thinking about getting started. Maybe they're in their first year of freelancing. They're that new business owner that can help them feel more confident in their business when it comes to their finances or their taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. A lot of the beginning stuff is mindset, but some of it's very logical. That's like you're afraid to start because you don't know if you're breaking any rules.
Yeah.
By going
you don't want to mess up.
Yeah. So my first step is actually more so on the legal side, but it affects the finances too. And that is to be aware of what type of business you are. And a lot of people don't think about, if they're not ready to set up an LLC, they don't think about that. Once they actually start working, they're a business in the eyes of, the IRS and their state. They're a business. It's called a sole proprietorship. And you can, and they may be afraid of not knowing the rules and whatever. You can find out a lot on your state website. You can find out a lot about what you're supposed to do. You can actually also call and talk to a person, and they'll tell you like everything that you need to do to make sure that you are in compliance, and to make sure that you are like following the rules. So that's like the first step that I usually tell people if I'm telling them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps on how to get started. So the very first step is know what kind of business you are. If you want to get the LLC, that's cool. If you want to set up S Corp, like there's lots of options, and you can hire an accountant, or that's a good idea, is hire an accountant. You can also do a little bit of research on your own to find out that kind of stuff. So that's the first tip, is figure out what business you are and what you want to be. The second tip is figure out how that affects the finances. And again, you can do a little bit of research yourself. There are some, probably some free YouTube trainings as well. Also, you could hire an accountant for this part too, but just knowing like how you need to start setting up for taxes. Taxes is scary. I totally get it. It's still scary for me with my own taxes. But it's just a thing. It's just like a rule. I mean, when you work at a 9-to-5 job, you pay taxes there too.
They just do it for you. I said they just do it for you.
Yeah, they do it for you. A lot of it happens behind the scenes. Yeah. So just you've taken the reins of that. You've taken control, and just know you've got to pay taxes when you're a business owner too. So go ahead and plan from the start. Go ahead and figure out, what percentages you need to save. It's not the same for everybody. It is going to be customized to you. So you need to go down that route, figure out how to start saving the money for taxes. And then the third tip that I would say is, get some of the financial stuff structured. A bookkeeping system or an accounting system is really going to help in multiple ways with that. And it's going to help right from the start, because you're going to be able to separate your personal and business money. You're going to be able to see how you can pay yourself. You're going to see how you can start saving for taxes. And just it's going to be a ripple effect, kind of a build up. If you think about like a boulder rolling down the hill, it's going to build up in a positive way for you as you grow your business. A lot of people I don't think about have that mindset, and I probably didn't when I very first started either, but you have the potential to grow, like there's no limits. You have the potential to grow to a huge business one day if you wanted to. And it's going to be very beneficial then if you started this stuff now.
Yeah. And what I would say is don't be afraid to mess up, because very little of it is permanent. Like, not that we want to mess up, but I think as someone who, I am a rule follower, I'm type A, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I have all these things that for a long time, these things along with healthcare became a very big fit. Like, how can I possibly leave my job? I don't know how to pay taxes. What about healthcare? And now as someone, 6.5 years removed from that person, it's like, hey, Lauren, you're not the first person to want to do this. Like, you're not the first person to have to go figure this out. So I love that you said, ask for help. Use Google, get on your state website. Like, there's even free tools for what Meagan just recommended in the third step. Like, there are free tools you can use that will help you up until, you may grow out of them, but for a while they can sustain you. And so I think a lot of it's fear. Thank you, Meagan, for those tips. Lauren of 2014 really could have used you in her life. That would have been amazing. Obviously, this probably wasn't a huge fear for you because knowledge is power, right? So you understood this stuff. So it probably wasn't a big block. I'd love to hear, like, what do you think your biggest block was earlier in your freelancing business?
It's kind of funny because it doesn't seem logical, but I knew I had the skills and I knew that I could do it. But I call them my bully voices. I have mean bully voices in my head. And I don't think that I'm the only one that experiences this. To me, it feels like my voices are louder than anybody else's, right? It always feels like that to all of us, I'm sure. But like I would say these mean things to myself, and I didn't have the tools to fight it or argue with it, or even to just not believe it or ignore it. And so that's something really big that I've had to focus on, especially recently, because it's almost still telling me, like, how did you get to six figures? Like, you can't do this. You can't run a business. Like, it's still telling me sometimes that I can't even do this. And it's fear. It's fear in us trying to protect ourselves. Like, I know that logically, but that's been the biggest thing for me, is the mindset and just getting the tools to try to combat those voices and to quiet the voices and to, work myself back into a state where I can say, that's not true. I know that's my brain and my body trying to protect me, my heart trying to protect me, but this is what's true and this is logical and this is how I need to proceed.
Yeah, we've got some resources to help you guys with the mindset stuff. That's a lifelong journey. Meagan and I actually both have the same coach that we work with currently on all of our mindset stuff. But you guys can check out Free Mama TV. I have resources about imposter syndrome, and we teach a framework called the 3 and 3C framework that will help you kind of unpack those limiting beliefs and kind of reframe them and let you almost free yourself from them. But it's cyclical, right? It's not like you do it once and then you're like, oh, I'm never going to have those. What did you call it? You call them bullies. We call them mean girls. Yeah. The bully voices, the mean girl voices, they go away, they come back. So if you need help with that, I'll put some resources in the show notes for this. But if you are like me and you are new in your business and your biggest fear is some of the logistical stuff. I even wrote down, she said, in compliance. If your fear around starting a business is because you were like, what if I set this up incorrectly? Meagan has a free resource for you. It is her tax deduction worksheet. Meagan, tell them why this is valuable, please.
So this is super valuable because even if you consider yourself freelancer, contractor, 1099 worker, virtual assistant, whatever you call yourself, like I said earlier, you're a business in the eyes of the IRS. So the benefit of that is you get all of these tax deductions that you can count. So really, really utilize it. This is something that I see people saying, oh, I have to pay taxes. I know I'm just going to have to pay it. And they kind of close their eyes to the other side of it. But there's so much that you can deduct. And a deduction is a straight subtraction from your taxes that you owe. I mean, think about it like a long math problem. You're just getting to subtract. So it's very worth it to learn these things. That's why I'm giving you this list. I'm literally giving you a list to plug into, even if you're still using a spreadsheet or if you're using a bookkeeping or accounting system, start applying this to your life. Do it on the regular so you don't forget about things you're spending money on or overlook them. You're definitely going to forget about some stuff if you wait till the end of the year. So utilize it now, learn more, learn as much as you can about what can be counted as what. And just it's not taking advantage. It's your right. It is your right as a business owner to do this. So claim it.
Smart.
And
it's Smart,
Yeah.
also known as savvy. So you can go to taxsavvy.thefreemama.com. I will drop the link in the show notes for you as well. Taxsavvy.thefreemama.com. You guys can get this tax deduction worksheet. And again, it's a great resource. It's just plain smart. Like she said, like this is the perk of being a business owner, because you were paying taxes as an employee anyway. You just didn't get to see any of it, right? They were collecting their deductions and you didn't get that benefit as an employee. But now that you are a business owner, you can. And for anybody who, again, is like, well, I just don't want to mess this up. Number one, ask for help. Number two, just to show you guys where I'm at, in the beginning of 2019, my husband and I were collecting all of our tax stuff. We turned it into the CPA. Yes, the same one who disappeared like a year and a half later. And he said, I will not touch this until you hire a bookkeeper to go all the way through 2018 and clean it up, because I was not qualified. And then I will start working on your taxes. And clearly I reached out to Meagan, who had at this time positioned herself as the expert that she is. So taxsavvy.thefreemama.com. It's so good. Meagan, also, if you guys are intrigued, if you want to learn more about that course that she mentioned, if you have questions on your own about accounting, bookkeeping, you just want to connect with other people who can help you in this space, she has a Facebook group called Tax Savvy Bookkeeper. You guys can search for that, or we will drop a link for that as well. Meagan, thank you so much for being here. I've got one more question if you're up for it.
Yeah.
Cool. So you know this well because you have lived this mission in your own life. But the mission of the Free Mama is to make sure no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. Knowing that, knowing this community so intimately, knowing what we've talked about today, is there one last piece of advice or story or tidbit or anything that you would like to leave our viewers and listeners with today?
Yeah, honestly, just knowing that you are worth it. Like, you don't want to have to choose, because you feel like, as a mother, we feel like we have to take responsibility for everything. I think that's why that's the biggest fear, not having to choose which we're going to focus on and what we're going to take care of. But going this route and becoming a freelancer and having your own business, it's also about you. You're taking care of yourself so that you're going to be able to take care of all those other things better. And I can't even put into words how transformative it feels and how empowering it feels. And you need to take a chance on yourself. If this is something you want to do, you are worth it. You can do it. And just take a chance on yourself and try it.
So good. I love that conversation about worth. I think that's what it all comes back to. Like all those bullies, all those mean things, we're constantly questioning that. Like, we're constantly in this state of like, am I, aren't I? But you are. Meagan knows it. I know it. We believe in you. Meagan, I am probably your biggest fan. I'm just so proud of you. And thank you for being here today to share your experience and your journey and your wisdom with all of these free mamas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
You guys, if you learned something, if you enjoyed this interview, please let us know. Take a screenshot where you're listening, where you're watching, tag us. We promise we will share it back. We love to hear from you guys. Leave a review. Let us know what you thought. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Free Mama Radio. Don't forget to check out Free Mama TV right here on YouTube for hundreds of how-to videos and interviews to help you start, grow, and scale a virtual business from home. If you want to join a community of tens of thousands of moms just like you, make sure you join the Free Mama Movement group over on Facebook. And lastly, if you want to learn more about how we can do this together, work to achieve your goals, and make you our next success story, check out my free training at thefreemamamovement.com. I'll see you next time.